Hello everyone, I'm back with you today to show you something a little bit different today. This is a small little treat box made using some leftovers of paper that I had from other projects, and I've used my envelope scoreboard to make the box, and I'm going to show you how I used the Cool Katz Slit slot dies, careful how I say that, to make a closure for the ribbon. So it ended up being 3 inches by 3 inches, and it's 1 3/4 inches deep. So it looks quite small on camera here, but it's a nice decent size. So that's all you're going to need is one piece of cardstock and your leftover papers from other projects and your envelope scoreboard, and I'll see you in the project. So for this project I've got a piece of black cardstock which measures 7.5 by 7.5, and as I said, I've just got some leftover papers from other projects. This is from the Salutations by Nitwits, and you can use any number of closures, but I'm going to show how to use the Cool Katz cuts, the slit slot dies, to make a closure. So I'll show you how to measure things with them. So let's start with our piece of cardstock. So I've got my envelope punch board, and for this I'm going to measure my black cardstock up against the 2.5 inch measurement. I'm going to punch and find my channel there and score down. So it's punch and score with the cardstock at 2.5 inches. So remember this, you're working in that direction. So now I'm going to slide it so the edge of my card is at the 5. I'm going to punch again. You can see where the score line is there. So I'm going to go in and score. So it's 2.5 and 5, so nice and easy to remember. And now it's really easy because all we're going to do is rotate it 90 degrees, use this little notch here, and I'm going to line my score line from previously with that notch. We're going to punch and score. We're going to move it so that the next score line is in line. See there? We're going to punch and score. Rotate it again, line up, punch and score. So as soon as you've done those first two measurements, it's just a case of repeating it all the way around. And the last one. There. So these are all the bits which have punched out. We're finished with our scoreboard. We're going to keep that just for scoring now. So I'm going to fold now and score all these triangular points towards the middle, and then all those long lines towards the middle. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut down those score lines towards the centre. So I've done both of this side, so now I'm just going to do the opposite ones as well. So what will happen then is these two will come in on each side, come up, we'll add some glue there, and then all 4 of them will come and close to make a top. So that's your basic box. So nice and easy. but I'm going to show you now how to decorate it and how to make a closure. So with the punch board, you can put these corners in here and corner punch them, but I found it's a bit too small because I'm going to mattingly, I'm going to be using my corner punch, so I've got 3 different sizes. So now we're going to start decorating it. So I've got 2 pieces of my scrap paper here, and these have been cut already to 2 5/8 inches wide. So just zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to work out some measurements on the back. So let me just grab my ruler. So first of all, I've got it so it's 2 5/8 across. Right? I'm going to mark up from the bottom corners. I'm just going to grab my pencil and mark up 1, 2, 3/8. I'm just going to do that on both sides. So I got 3/8 of an inch up from the 2 bottom corners. Now I need to work out my halfway point here. So what I can do is grab some scrap paper, because it's that 5/8. We can just cut a piece of paper, fold it in half, and mark it. So that's easier than working it, because I think it's something like 1 9/16. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1 9/16. So rather than do that, I just folded the paper in half. So now I'm just going to draw a line up. Just line it across the bottom and draw a line up. Okay, so now I don't think that's straight for me, so let's have a look. Oh no, it is. Right, so we're going to measure up then that central line. We're going to measure up 1 3/4. So the corner of my flap is 2 inches, so I've just come down a little bit. And now it's a case of joining them up. From that dot down to those 2 lines we did earlier. So I'm going to cut and cut. And we've now got this flap, which will fit onto there. So I'm just going to round off the corners. So I don't want to use my big, large one now. So I'm going to use my medium on my black, and I'm going to use my small onto my middle, and there we are. So I'm just going to do that. One more time, but rather than measure it all again, I'm going to use this as a template. I shouldn't have trimmed that corner, but it doesn't matter. When I go up, I'll just keep going straight. There we are. And again. So now, there we are, we've got it with mat. So I will need to do 2 more of these. Again, I'm not going to bother going around that corner. I'll use my corner punch to get that nice and tidy afterwards. Okay. So again, just tidy off the corners. So two of them I'm going to leave plain. Now these two are the ones where I'm going to use my ribbon closure using my slit slot dies. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go from corner to corner. So that's that 3/8 of an inch I had earlier. There. So let's have a look at the Cool Katz slit slot dies. So here's the packet. Let me just zoom out for a second. Let's put them aside for just a second. And let's have a look at what you get. So what you get are 3 different sizes of holes. So this will cut straight into your project. And then you've got some decorative pieces that'll go around the hole. So that central bit is the same size as 3 of these 3, and you get 2 of each, so you don't even have to do one, cut and then do the other. You can do them all at the same time. So you've got plain ones, pierced ones and stitched ones. Then you've also got a plate which is a different colour. Now this will cut a mat and layer. So I've gone for the large one for this project and the stitch. So I've cut 2 out of black, and then out of the pink coordinate paper I've cut the largest oval, and then I've just stuck and layered them on top. So that's your decorative pieces using the plates. And now I need to find the matching hole. So I'm going to use the largest. That's the medium. Here we are, here's the large. So I keep these in the bag so I don't want to lose them, they're so small. Let's put them all back in the pack. Right, so we're working on the back of our paper now. I'm going to get some of my low tack tape ready. Now when we look at these slot dies, you'll notice they've got little notches in the center on both sides and top and bottom, so they make them really easy to line up. So I'm going to line up the bottom of my die with my pencil line and the top, and then the top and bottom I'm lining up with the pencil line that's going vertical. So if I bring it up to the camera now, can you see how those 2 little notches have been lined up with that center, so I know it's in the middle. Now if I had a longer piece I could even match those 2 notches with that line, so I know I've got a perfect placement. So again, let's do this one. There we are. So they're both lined up where I want them. So I'm going to grab my, so this is now my bit where I want my slots. Let's just cut all the corners. Now if I was to cut it this way, what would happen is then when I flip it over to have my decorative piece on the right hand side, it wouldn't be exactly in the right place, just because if you're a tiny bit off left or right or up and down, it wouldn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it from the back. So this is the inside of the box now. You can see it folds up that way. So I'm going to line it up here. And I'm just going to, I've got some tape there so I can stick it down. Now I've only got my 6-inch machine here. And obviously this is much wider, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in one side, fold in that flap, and just make sure when it goes through the machine, as soon as I'm over that slot, stop and come back. Okay. So we're going to do the other side now. My tape isn't as long this time, so I'm just going to grab some more. So I'm going to line it up. Let's just stick it down. Make sure I got contact onto the black. Again, just fold in 2 sides. So you can see it's in my plate now. I'm just going to send it through again. And as soon as it's cleared, bring it back. And now, when we take all this tape off, we've got our slot. In the center. So when we come to glue it now, when we turn it over, it's going to line up nicely on the front. So again, take off the other side. Let's take some black soot distress ink just around the edge. What I did forget, try and keep a track of which is which. I think this one was this one. Yep. So add some glue, make sure it's around that hole and around the edge. Make sure now I'm gluing it on the outside. So you want to glue around that hole so it doesn't lift up. And glued. So these 2 plain ones now. Let's add some distress ink. Just around the edges. And now it's time to get the box. Now I would use some strong tape, but just for quickness and speed for the video, I'm just going to use some of my Scotch tape. I would probably use score tape, usually just to make sure. But then again, I'm using glue as well, so that tape is just to hold it there in place for now. So I've just done it in the 4 of those cornery shapes. And we're just going to lift and line it up, fold it in, line it up. It's like making one of those boxes when you were a child. It's just open the flaps, maybe that'll help just to line it up. There we are. And then when you're folding it, you're just going to close those two, and you're going to wrap your ribbon through. So let's add the outside of our slot dies. So this will just finish off the top. There we are. And then the sides are just short of 1.5, so I'm going to cut my papers to 1.5 inches tall, which I've already done, and then just line up. So I think I'll cut this one to 2 7/8. Just grab my trimmer. So 2 7/8, so just short of 3. I might as well do both of them at the same time because the other side should be the same, I hope. Let's just ink the edges. So let's just glue that on there. And you see, this is really good for using up those little scraps of papers after you've made an album, or if you've got a piece of paper left from a pack. I think that's upside down. Let's have a look. Yep, the flower's going up now. And then let's have a look. Are these the same size? These are 3 inches. So let's have a look. Is 7/8 a bit too long this time? Yeah, the 7/8 is a bit too long. So let's have a look at 2 3/4. 2 3/4 seems a better fit. So and another 2 3/4 here. Put the lid on the glue. There we go. So you know, if you want more of a black edge, just make it smaller, or the other way around, if you want less black edge, just make your designer paper bigger. It's a personal preference there. And now, let's just cut the length of the ribbon. As I said, these 2 flaps will just go down, and you can slot your ribbon through the slit slot dies. Bring them closed and tie it off. So you can either tie it tight, or you can leave it up a little bit so you get a little arch bow going on. I'm not the best bow tyer at all. In fact, I probably have to start again with this one. and maybe just end up with a fancy knot instead. That's what I end up usually doing, just a knot. So you could print off a tag or something from the kit if you wanted to tie it in. You can decoupage, add some pictures to the side, anything you want. So a nice little box which is finishing off as 3 inches by 3 inches, and it's 1 3/4 inches deep. So it's a nice size, nice for some sweets, some Ferrero Rochers, whatever you fancy. Using up your scraps and your slit slot die set from Cool Katz. And the papers I used here were Salutations by Nitwits. And I said they were just pieces left over from other projects you may have seen me make. So have a go and let me see your versions by joining my Facebook group, Paper Crafting with Paul, and add your photos. And I'll see you again with another project very soon.